Botanical Center employees. As you can see, the birds are just a little bit bigger than the Iowa variety, but they fly just as fast. And there he goes. And coming up today, our Monday's Live at 5. Latest from Hollywood from Mike Jarrett.
That and more on Monday. Time now, NBC News with Tom Brokaw. See you Monday.
President Bush invites the Israelis and Arabs to resume peace talks in Washington, and Shamir says the settlements will be discussed.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, reporting tonight from NBC News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. President Bush tonight is trying to give the Middle East peace talks a big push. He wants the Israelis and the Arabs to meet in Washington in less than 2 weeks, December 4th, to work on the gritty details of a lasting peace. NBC's John Cochran is at the White House now, where Israeli Prime Minister Shamir was meeting today with President Bush. John?
Day and a week that certainly had them.
Now it's heavy lifting to get them here into Washington. The U.S. always seems to be pressuring the Israeli Prime Minister to do something he doesn't want to do. Shamir and President Bush may be allies, but this is grin and bear it diplomacy.
When I see this Prime Minister, we have a free-flowing discussion. I have great respect for him. I want to be sure that U.S.-Israel relations are on the strongest possible path.
Nothing was easy for the American side today. White House Chief of Staff John Sununu got bopped by a sound technician. And the hard part was yet to come when the U.S. urged Israel to accept an invitation to the second round of the peace conference in Washington. Shamir promised only to think it over.
I've said that the discussions will go on this problem.
Shamir wants to move the peace conference to the Mediterranean island of Cyprus or some other place close to Israel. The Israelis were unhappy with the media circus at the Madrid conference, where the Palestinians scored some public relations points. The next round is supposed to get into hard bargaining on territory and Palestinian autonomy. And Prime Minister Shamir fears Israelis will be under more American pressure if they are physically in Washington.
I think that he's very concerned about the role of the United States, whether it's going to be honest broker or the imposer of a settlement, where the Arabs can simply sit back while the United States delivers Israel and Israeli concessions.
Shamir said today he is willing to discuss halting Israeli settlements in occupied territories. But for now, he is unyielding.
If the Israelis are not prepared as part of a negotiating process to agree to a freeze on settlements, I think it'll be difficult to arrive at an agreement on anything else.
Although both Israelis and Arabs are reluctant to come to Washington, senior U.S. officials tell NBC News they now believe that both sides will agree to start talks here next month. Tom?
John, is the president going to have an active role in these negotiations right through the election year? John Cochran? Well, apparently we had an audio difficulty. It is never easy getting questions to our White House correspondent or getting anything done in the Middle East, it turns out. First, you have to work through the maze of issues and the problems. What to do about the settlements? What next for the Palestinians? Even the Palestinians can't decide. NBC's Martin Fletcher.
The Palestinians were hoping America would dictate a time and a place, and they got what they wanted. But as the peace negotiators explained to hostile audiences on the West Bank why they compromised with Israel to get the peace talks going, they look less like visionary leaders, more like the accused on trial.
The
charge, selling out the dream of a Palestinian state for autonomy, whatever that means, he says. The defense.
We explain that our view of autonomy is that it is a dynamic state, it's a transitional state, it is not a static state.
The Palestinian spokesperson, Hannah Ashrawi, sometimes gets more support from Israelis, leftists who want to give up land for peace and free settlements. Opinion polls show Prime Minister Shamir is out of step when he refuses to stop settlement construction during peace talks. They show most Israelis want to stop building on occupied Arab land and give talks a boost. The opposition Labour Party, for the first time, officially adopted a full settlement freeze as part of its platform.
Because settlements are changing the status quo in the occupied territories. And if you are negotiating, and you are negotiating on the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip. You cannot change the status quo.
But Shamir, despite calming words suggesting a willingness to negotiate on the questions of settlement and land, sticks to his guns. No settlement freeze, no surrendering land, and no Palestinian state. The only Israeli offer is autonomy, which the Palestinians were offered and rejected 13 years ago. Israelis and Palestinians are so far apart on what they want, some analysts believe eventually Washington will have to make its own proposals for peace. Then, and only then, the analysts say, will real compromises begin to be made. Martin Fletcher, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
When Nightly News continues in a moment, a search for answers to the economy turns up only frustration. And tonight's Friday follow-up. 2 months after 25 people were killed in a fire in Hamlet, North Carolina, Robert Hager reports on safety conditions in American factories.
It's the final week of Color Tile's 38th anniversary sale. Last chance for half-price savings. Get half price on ceramic tile for floors and walls from 49 cents. Half price on vinyl tile, 44 cents each. Half price on Armstrong sheet flooring. And introducing DuPont Stainmaster Extra Life Carpet. Half price on every square yard, including padding and installation. Plus window and wall coverings and no payment for 90 days. Color Tile's 38th anniversary sale. Final week, so hurry. Sale ends Wednesday, November 27th.
I was a dedicated beard wearer until my wife gave me the new Remington Microscreen Elite. It's quick. It's close. The Remington Microscreen Elite has 2 ultra-thin screens. So comfortable, shaves as close as a blade or your money back. That's Remington.
What do you smell?
I can't smell anything. My nose is clogged, yeah.
For fast relief, try Dristan 12-hour nasal spray. Now smell.
It's an orange. Dristan nasal spray just works incredibly fast.
Dristan, the face of relief today.
The recession. Today, President Bush met with a group of economists and listened for 75 minutes to their ideas, but there is no word tonight on any consensus. Meanwhile, unemployment keeps rising and business is flat. NBC's chief economics correspondent is Irving R. Levine.
I've got 12. They were a bit 12.5.
It was the mother of all distress sales. Properties seized by the government from bankrupt S&Ls in 12 cities, auctioned at half their listed value.
You are sold $9,500,000.
A symptom of an economy still down in the dumps, 16 months after the recession began, acknowledged today by the administration.
I think all of us in the administration are disappointed that the recovery has not happened quicker.
By now, the U.S. consumer was supposed to be spending the economy out of its hole, but
consumers are hunkering down. American consumers are very cautious. They're worried about jobs. They're worried about how much income they're earning.
Worried with reason. Companies continue to lay off people.
One of the things that no one wants to talk about, so I guess I will, is when you cut back defense, you cut back jobs.
Jobs like those lost by Lockheed workers in Los Angeles, who are now in federal retraining programs for possible work in other industries.
Now I have to find myself a new job, and the only thing I understand is the computers. It's a good field to get into.
A bit of good news is the pickup in home sales last month resulting from lower interest rates. But for people who depend on interest from savings, lower rates leave them with less to spend, further slowing recovery.
Where I got 200, I'm getting now 150, so there's $50 less to spend.
Lower interest rates are of no help to many companies. Even those with good credit ratings can't get loans because of bank restrictions.
It definitely slows our growth. We had anticipated being a little farther along at this point than we actually are.
The recovery is not likely to pick up steam until well into next year. It will take that long for Americans to pay off debt, for interest rates to drop further, and for the administration and Congress to come up with election year tax cuts. Irving R. Levine, NBC News, Washington.
Just when the recession will end is one of many questions that you might want to ask a computer named Merlin. It's been programmed to analyze the facts about the past and then predict future events. NBC's Fred Briggs went to see this machine for himself and to check out its track record. The
rise of Yeltsin, the decline of Gorbachev. Unforeseen by most, but not by this computer.
That's the anti-Gorbachev coup.
George Hart and Paul Gersio created what they call the Merlin project, which uses a computer to track events in history and predicts, they say, what might happen in the future.
It's backing up and looking at time from a much larger backdrop.
Hart is a physicist. He's worked on the Star Wars program, and in his spare time, he's computerized what Gersio has only theorized.
There are periods in human events where things become extremely active.
Take Cuba. They started with Castro's date of birth, then his rise in the 1950s.
The period of time of the revolution itself is actually less intense until Castro takes over, which is this spike here.
The program shows Castro's glory days, then brings him right up to today's hard times, and doesn't stop there.
But as you continue in time, the activity level drops out almost completely, indicating that something like being deposed or dying had occurred.
That's the fall of Castro?
I think
yes.
It looks like it, yeah.
And what of Iraq, Saddam Hussein? He's shown at peak activity before and during the war, but Merlin says we haven't heard the last of him.
Maybe back in 92 and 93 to create more problems yet.
On the AIDS epidemic, Merlin shows a peak coming 3 years from now.
Suddenly in 1994, we start running off scale.
These great big peaks, these don't necessarily mean something wonderful is going to happen or something terrible is going to happen, do they?
No.
They're just not going to be dull.
That's right. That's it.
We're not involved in predicting love affairs or perhaps business successes, but just levels of activity.
Here's Merlin's projection of the U.S. economy.
There is an enormous drop in this period of time at the end of 91, beginning of 92.
Some find Merlin questionable as science. We can only say that economy projection was seen last Thursday. On Friday, the stock market dropped 120 points. Fred Briggs, NBC News, Chelmsford, Massachusetts.
Wall Street was down today, but nothing like last Friday's 120-point loss. Recession fears and computer trading pushed stock prices lower in active trading. For the week, the Dow was off about 40 points.
The financial report has been brought to you by Merrill Lynch. We're bullish on the future.
Risk. As hard as it is to live with, it's impossible to live without. At Merrill Lynch, we know that risk can be dealt with. It can be managed. It can even be turned to your advantage. To do that, you need a partner. A partner who understands it and can help you turn a world of risk into a world of opportunity. Merrill Lynch, we're bullish on the future.
This man's incredibly close, comfortable shave comes from the Norelco razor. But to see how he got it, we have to go back to when he began shaving. Not just above the skin, but below it. Here, our patented lift and cut system lifts the hair so when it's cut, it can actually drop below skin level without the blades even touching your face. Try it, and you'll keep going back to Norelco for a perfect shave. Norelco, we make close, comfortable.
We bake pearls made of denture material in this blueberry pie to prove how powerfully Efferdent, America's leading denture cleanser, removes this tough stain, even in between. Efferdent, stronger than stains.
You know, when you're eating Quaker Oats for breakfast, you're doing the right thing. Pure nutrition, and it's piping hot. Then when you're not all hungry by 10 o'clock, and you're still going strong at 11, you know it again. Quaker Oats is the right thing to do.
Our Daily Difference tonight, Friday follow-up. In September, a deadly fire raced through a chicken processing plant in Hamlet, North Carolina. This tragedy focused attention on conditions in the American workplace. Just how safe is it? NBC's Robert Hager tonight.
Hamlet, North Carolina today. The factory that once processed chickens is closed for good. One of the worst industrial fires in recent memory. 25 people died. Mattie Farley, a bagger at the plant, escaped. She still had nightmares.
You know, sometimes you have dreams, you know, about fires and stuff. And then your mind go back to the ones that died.
Gerard Scannell, OSHA administrator, in charge of workplace safety.
How many other Hamlets are there? That bothers me.
The Hamlet fire points to a national problem. A Rand Institute study shows work-related injuries in 1989 cost $83 billion in lost time and medical bills. Churchill Downs, Louisville, the Breeders' Cup. A day at the races, an unlikely setting for a protest. Employees of Louisville Manufacturing, who made these souvenir hats, say the plant where they work isn't safe. In business more than 50 years, the company makes a variety of caps, promoting products and sporting events. Kentucky's Labor Department has cited Louisville Manufacturing for only minor violations. But NBC News has documents that show in 1990, 87 job-related injuries at the firm among 240 employees. Injuries ranged from severe muscular problems to chemical fume exposure. The workers say most could have been avoided. Kim North had to quit her job as a silkscreen printer in February. The pain was too great.
We were working 12 hours a day, and I had told my supervisor at the time that I couldn't feel my fingertips. And he told me to print or go home. So naturally, I printed, and by the end of the day, my hands actually looked deformed. I mean, it was like this.
Connie Jones, still there after 19 years, tells what constant exposure to formaldehyde did to her.
I have to put salve on my arms every night now, and I have to put plastic wrap around my arms and sleep with it like that.
The president of Louisville Manufacturing is Mickey Heidemann. He wouldn't talk to NBC News, saying he's in negotiation with the workers' union, but the union did.
Here, these workers tell me that the hats that they produce or the T-shirts they get out are more important in their lives.
Kentucky is one of 23 states nationwide that does its own inspecting. The federal government does the others. But OSHA's Gerard Scannell admits there's a problem. Not enough inspectors, not enough money to watch everyone.
I don't know if we can prevent them from falling through the cracks, but I would say if the bad actors, as you mentioned, we need the employees to call us.
OSHA just set up a toll-free number to handle anonymous worker complaints. There's legislation pending requiring employee-employer safety committees and also to toughen inspections in high-risk industries. But OSHA isn't convinced that's the answer and is still studying the proposal. But these workers in Louisville want something to change their lives for the better now. In Hamlet, any change is too late. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
We'll have more news when Nightly News continues in a moment. And that flu epidemic, boy, is it spreading fast.
Just not in the Christmas spirit.
What beautiful candles, all kinds of shapes and scents, and they're 50% off.
Is the season to be...
How do these little people move?
Motors.
Oh.
And Santa's elf.
I knew it!
The Bells of Christmas. It plays 15 tunes, and Santa's marching band plays 35 tunes.
They're playing our song.
Did you know Kmart's giving away up to 3,000 family vacations for 4 to Disneyland?
I'm always the last to know.
The grit is gone. The grit is gone. Announcing the smoothest tasting, best mixing natural fiber you can buy. New Sunrise Smooth Metamucil. Same natural fiber for regularity as original Metamucil, but now completely smooth, with no more grit. Tastes like a citrus drink. The smoothest tasting, best mixing natural fiber you can buy. New Sunrise Smooth Metamucil. The grit is gone.
We didn't look at it like everyone else. That was too confining. Instead, we opened up the Infiniti G20 with a luxurious cabin-forward design and the exhilaration of a 140 horsepower engine. It's designed to give you breathing room and take your breath away, all at the same time.
Nighttime, one of the worst times for pain. That's why you need new Ultra Strength Bengay with added power. It's the strongest Bengay ever. Fast relief from muscle aches and minor arthritis pain. With new Ultra Strength Bengay, you can say goodnight to your pain.
This is regular. This is better. This Bayer is regular. For headaches, Anacin is better. Why better? Regular Bayer has one ingredient. Anacin has two. A pain medicine plus a second ingredient that makes it work better. Get Anacin. Get better.
Here's a quick check now of some of today's other news from around the world. A regional capital in Yugoslavia was hit hard by artillery as federal troops stepped up their offensive against breakaway Croatia. The attack forced thousands of people to flee the city. In this country, one freight train sideswiped another in western Oregon. 6 engines and 10 cars were knocked off the tracks. A lot of damage, but there were no serious injuries. And in Texas, people gathered outside the Dallas Book Depository in memory of John F. Kennedy. 28 years ago, our 33rd president was struck down there by an assassin's bullet. The aches and pains of that flu epidemic have spread now to almost half the country, and there is no indication that any state will be spared. One medical specialist said, this flu feels like the devil. Here's NBC's medical correspondent, Robert Bazell.
In Atlanta and cities across the country, people were coming to clinics and doctors' offices for flu shots. In some clinics, supplies of the vaccine are running low.
80% of it, I understand, is in the hands of private doctors. So if a person has a problem getting it from their own doctor, they check with the local health department or state health department, or check with some other doctors.
Health officials have now confirmed outbreaks in 24 states. All indications point to this as the worst flu season in more than 20 years. Most of the infections reported so far this year are among school-age children, but that is typical of the beginning of an epidemic.
Once it's established in this age group, they transmit the virus then to preschool children and to older individuals.
The flu virus, magnified here 500,000 times, changes from year to year. Strains are named after the places they were first discovered. The A. Beijing strain, which predominates this year, is a variant of the Hong Kong flu that struck in 1968, killing 60,000 Americans. The vaccine developed in anticipation of this year's flu season does provide protection. In some people, it will prevent infection entirely. In others, it will keep the flu confined to the nose and throat and stop it from moving to the lungs, which can lead to fatal pneumonia, especially in older people and in sick children. Not everyone who gets a virus infection and feels crummy has the flu. The most common symptom of the flu is a cough, usually accompanied by body aches, fever, and a sore throat. The only prevention is vaccination.
My greatest concern is that people who are in the high-risk groups, people 65 and older, and people with the serious chronic health problems, that they go to their doctor and ask about being immunized.
Prices for vaccination range from free to $10 in clinics and up to $40 in doctors' offices. The vaccination has very few side effects. It is not recommended for children, but health officials say any adult can take it and cut down the risk of missing work and feeling miserable for several days. Robert Bazell, NBC News, New York.
David Sonny Werblin, the talent agent who founded the New York Jets and set up the merger between the old American Football League and the NFL, is dead. He suffered a heart attack in New York yesterday at the age of 81.
Yikes.
Who's the elevator?
Whoa.
I'll wait in the bus.
It's been called the toughest workout on earth. Step Reebok. Nobody can make you do it. You just have to be one of those people who believes that hard work will be rewarded.
This is so cool.
I'd like to have a word with you, and that word is and. It's a word you don't hear much if you're spending less than 10 grand on a car. Unless you're looking at Plymouth Sundance America. It gives you an automatic transmission, and air, and a stereo, and a driver's airbag, and the owner's choice protection plan. And it's the only car that gives you those ands and 50 others for under 10 grand.
Now, drive for the gold with up to $1,000 cash back on select cars.
Take some vegetables and presto salad shooter.
Shoot some slices salad shooter.
Point and shoot right into stir fry or casserole.
Shoot some shreds salad shooter.
For hash browns or coleslaw.
Shoot it fast, shoot it neat, shoot it pretty. Salad shooter.
Presto salad shooter slicer shredder. Clean up easy, dishwasher safe. Small enough to store anywhere. Great salads and much, much more.
Salad shooter.
Original, cordless rechargeable, and now professional salad shooter.
Sears announces our biggest pre-Thanksgiving sale ever. Save 25 to 30% on all women's classic collection separates, all kids' outerwear, fleece sets, and sweaters, and save 10 to 50% on every item in the men's store. Thursday through Saturday at Sears.
Have you had your V8 today? Did you know that V8 juice has less than half the calories of that apple?
Wow!
V8 is a nutritious blend of 8 vegetable juices that taste terrific. Have you had your V8 today?
When the big Wall Street firm Salomon Brothers got into trouble for tampering with treasury auctions, the man riding to the rescue was Warren Buffett from Omaha. He's been a hugely successful business whiz for years now, but now he's becoming a kind of Will Rogers of the world of high finance. NBC's Mike Jensen.
Well, I got quite a crowd here. I wish I got a dime for each order.
Warren Buffett meeting with the financial community, signing autographs. They love him. The man with the squeaky clean image who's trying to clean up the mess at Salomon Brothers.
I'm going to be the American Bar Association's Man of the Year. I mean, we are spending a lot of money on legal fees.
Vintage Buffett, homespun, a self-deprecating sense of humor, even as he rushes to protect his $700 million stake in Salomon.
He takes what he does seriously, but he doesn't take himself seriously at all.
Buffett's friends polish his country boy image.
He lives in Omaha. He lives in the same house he always lived in.
This is the house, but Buffett sometimes stays in lavish hotel suites. And his suits cost him $1,500. He's phenomenally successful, worth more than $4 billion, and honest. Charity will get most of his money. He wants his children to earn their own.
You know, I can't say I wouldn't want the money if he was going to give it to me. No one would say that, I don't think. But I don't know that I'd want to tell him to do something differently because it's not him.
His son Howard, who was a farmer, looks back a bit wistfully at life with father.
He was always busy. He was always, had his head buried in the Moody's Industrials or something.
Before Buffett took over at Salomon, he was a big fan of the man running the firm, John Goodfriend.
John Goodfriend, and the belief that many people had in him, is the reason that Warren invested in Salomon Brothers.
But Buffett cleaned house. Goodfriend resigned under pressure. 140 people were fired. Buffett's a tough businessman. Rose Blumpkin sold him her furniture company years ago.
He walked in and he says, I'd like to buy your business. What do you want? I say, 60 million. He shook hands in 15 minutes. He brought me a check. I sold him a $100 million business for 60, and I was ashamed to back up.
Buffett buys up big pieces of large companies and sits tight. Usually it works. Although some of his holdings, like American Express and U.S. Air, have faltered lately. But he's still one of the world's richest men.
Oh, we thought we'd make a buckle when we purchased ABC.
He did. He owns more than $1 billion worth of its stock. Twice what he paid for it 5 years ago.
I am so thrilled to meet you. I have been such a fan of yours for such a long time.
This week, he performed with one of ABC's most famous soap stars.
But couldn't I borrow?
Have you ever thought of going public, Erica?
The man known as the Oracle of Omaha, building his image and having some fun.
Thank you so much.
Mike Jensen, NBC News, New York.
That's nightly news for this Friday night. I'm Tom Brokaw. Garrick Utley will be here tomorrow night. I'll see you next week.
Ideas flop and stocks may drop, but never do I pale, for no matter how I screw up, it's impossible to fail. Mrs. B will save me. She'll just throw another sail. Her cart is rolling on.
Up next on your 24-hour news source, a powerful winter storm nails central Iowa, causing car wrecks and headaches.
Weekend travelers, we've got the latest road reports for you, and it's not good news. I'm Therese Thompson. I'll have a live eye report.
And believe it or not, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We could see almost 10 times this much by morning tomorrow. I'll have details ahead.
Plus a live report on how this storm has some businesses rolling in the dough. It's all just ahead.
They say there aren't many things that farmers can be absolutely sure of. That's probably true. But one thing I can count on is my Chevy truck. Not only is it more truck for less money now, it'll bring me a higher resale when I'm ready to trade.
At just over 10 grand, the work truck is the best value around. Tough two-sided galvanized steel, anti-lock brakes, and more.
There's been a Chevy on this farm for as long as I can remember, and for good reason. They work as hard as we do.
Get a work truck deal today.
They're on the loose. Beautiful diamonds and color gemstones at fantastic savings during the K's Merchandise Loose Diamond and Color Gemstone Sale, Friday through Sunday. Choose the cut, carat weight, and quality you want. Beautiful stones in every price range, including quarter-carat diamonds from just $199.90. Hundreds of diamonds and color gemstones on sale at K's Merchandise this Friday through Sunday. Experience K's Merchandise. A little different, a lot better.
The doctor's office. A sudden illness just came over the Fuller family. For some families, that could be costly, but not for the Fullers, because they have the Gold Star health policy from American Family Insurance. With Gold Star, the Fullers only pay one family deductible per year.
Come on.
No matter how many family members there are.
American Family Insurance.
In Newton, your American Family agent is Gary Haynes. In Fort Dodge, call Wally Schlinn.
You're watching WHO TV 13 Des Moines, your 24-hour news source. And now, John Bachman, Kim Kerrigan, Rick Silvestrini with sports, and meteorologist Gary Amble with tonight's forecast. This is News Center 13 at 6.
You're looking at a live picture along I-35 north of the metro. It's going to be a long night and a cold and snowy weekend. Good evening. Thanks for being with us. Team coverage on the storm tonight. In a moment, weather details from Gary Amble.
Plus, live reports on conditions from Tom Hauser and Therese Thompson. But first, this is how things looked in the Omaha Council Bluffs area this morning as the snow started to work its way east towards us. Word of the impending storm sent shoppers in Des Moines flocking to grocery stores as residents started stocking up on provisions in anticipation of a long, snowy weekend. And slick roads combined with poor visibility made driving treacherous. This multi-vehicle accident occurred this afternoon on I-35 south of Ames. The jaws of life had to be used to remove occupants. Last night, in fact, even last week, meteorologist Gary Amble told us that we were in for a big storm this weekend. He joins us now from the Weather Center. Gary, how extensive is this system going to be?
Well, John, actually, it's very extensive. It's not even here yet. In fact, it's not even out of Oklahoma yet. Right now, it resides in about the northeast corner of Oklahoma. It has to traverse through Missouri and then start hooking north through Illinois, and we'll catch the backlash of this storm, sending its moisture back into the cold air, turning its precipitation into snow and spreading it across a pretty good chunk of Iowa. And we happen to be very close to that heaviest snow band. Because of this, tonight and Saturday, winter storm warnings have been posted. We could see anywhere from 6 to even 12 inches of snow across this area. That'll be whipped around by winds tomorrow that'll be gusting up to 40 miles an hour, at least. That's the way things look right now, so get ready for kind of a rough weekend ahead of us. Right now, Therese Thompson is outside, and she's going to tell us what's going on so far. Now, Therese, it's not here yet, but what do we have out there so far?
Well, if it's not here yet, Gary, boy, what's coming down is bad enough. I've only been standing out here a few minutes, and I'm already covered. The road conditions out here on 35 right now aren't too bad. Traffic is moving pretty slowly, though, not much more than 40 miles an hour. Several people have stopped at the rest area we're here at north of Ankeny to chip an inch of ice that's covering their headlights, and they can't seem to keep the windshield wipers keeping their windshields clean. Definitely having a problem. Let's take a look at the road conditions for today. I-29 out to the west of us, 100% snow and ice covered in the central portion. Also I-35 to the north. As you go north, anywhere from 0 to 100% snow and ice covered, so you definitely have a danger area there in the central portion of the state. Mostly slush covered right now. Obviously, that's going to change as this storm progresses toward us. I-80 west is 100% snow and ice covered, and to the central portion, again, we have ice, snow, and slush, definitely wet to the east. All that's going to change again as that storm moves across the area. We do want to caution people again, please be careful. There are icy patches out there, and if you don't have to drive, don't do it. Kim?
Old Man Winter is here, isn't he, Therese?
Absolutely.
Thanks very much. Now, if you'd like further details on road conditions across the state, there is a number that you can call. You see it on your screen now. In a moment, there it is. It's the DOT's Road Report Hotline. The number is 288-1047. How much snow are we really in for? Well, if you ask anyone who drove into Des Moines from Nebraska this afternoon, you have a pretty good idea. News Center 13's Kathy Saltero talked with some travelers this afternoon who say we're in for a doozy.
We wanted to find out how bad this storm was, so we talked with people who have already driven through most of it. Heading east from Nebraska, they thought they would be getting out of it.
Snowing real heavy, and it was freezing to the highway. And back on there was 9 cars in the ditch, 2 trucks, and 7 automobiles.
People off the road everywhere, 18-wheelers turned around on the shoulders.
These weary travelers are heading west, and staying ahead of the storm was tricky.
It's a little heavier over there. I think it's coming this way.
The road started icing up, and visibility was getting worse. What normally is about a 2-hour drive from Nebraska took some people more than 3. The biggest problem most people saw, including ourselves, was the buildup of ice on the windshield wipers. So you can tell this is pretty wet and sticky stuff. And if the forecasts are on target, it's only going to get worse. Near Des Moines, Kathy Saltero, News Center 13.
Now, most Central Iowans are sticking close to home, staying indoors tonight. Not everyone, though. News Center 13's Tom Hauser joins us with a live eye. And, Tom, for some, this storm will mean big business.
It certainly will, John. It's nights like tonight that make me wish I had invested in a pizza company sometime recently. We're at Home Team Pizza by Drake University, where business is brisk tonight, just as it is at most pizza places in town. A lot of people ordering out. They're staying home. They don't want to go out and deal with all the snow. You can see the orders coming in. The phones have not stopped ringing since we got here about a half an hour ago. On a normal night, this Home Team Pizza says they usually do about 350 pizzas on a Friday night. Tonight, they expect to do 550 to 600 pizzas. You got to look at some of them in here, and boy, it's nice and toasty warm. This is the place you want to be on a night like tonight. Over here is Tom Baldwin, the manager of this pizza place. And Tom, you say a couple weeks ago you had a similar night to this where you did a lot of business, right?
A couple weeks ago when we had a snowstorm, we did about 125 pizzas the first hour of the day, and it kept on going. It was a record night, very busy.
Okay, another busy and profitable night, isn't that right? Yeah. All right, Tom, thanks for joining us. As you can see, a very busy night here at Home Team Pizza. We've talked to some other pizza places in town. They're all doing brisk business. Domino's over in West Des Moines said they're doing 100 pizzas an hour. Nobody wants to go out and deal with the road conditions, John, and I don't blame them.
No. Okay, thanks very much, Tom. Well, as you might expect, the latest winter storm has brought about a number of delays and postponements. And for the latest on those cancellations and closings, call our InTouch line at 246-5600, then punch in category 1613. This is a service of News Center 13.
Students at Brody Middle School in Des Moines got an early start to the weekend, not because of the weather, but because of this, smoke-filled hallways. Students were safely evacuated this morning after a small electrical fire broke out in the girls' locker room. No injuries, but extensive smoke damage. Students were sent home today. Classes will resume on Monday. And parents, you can pick up items that were left behind between 9 and 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Still ahead on your 24-hour news source, a funeral service in Ames for William Murray, father-in-law of former hostage Thomas Sutherland.
An ulcer kept Sutherland from returning for the funeral. When we come back, a look at his first full week of freedom in 6.5 years.
Sometimes dreams come true. Shop Valley West Mall and Skolnick's Bagel Bakery and Restaurant. Eat in, carry out, and catering to. All varieties of bagels and spreads, bagel sandwiches and chips and hot soups daily. Experience Glamour Shots Photo Studio. You'll receive a makeover, new hairstyle, an exciting photo session, and instant viewing of your proofs. See how glamorous you can be at Glamour Shots. Shop Valley West Mall this holiday season, where sometimes dreams come true.
You can do it with True Value,
where you can get some great gifts for under $10 each. For just $9.99, you can get this deluxe solar-powered calculator from Casio. Or 2 of these Quaker TV trays. They have a honey oak finish and are great for extra guests. And the Metro 5-piece stainless steel mixing bowl set is also just $9.99 at your local True Value, the neighborhood hardware store with national chain store buying power.
Here's a message for all business travelers. Fly smarter, fly charter. Corporate Flight Executive Charter Service can take you anywhere, anytime, direct, with no intermediate stops. No waiting in line in airport terminals. Corporate Flight is ready to fly when you are, with 7 aircraft to serve you, including our King Air and Cheyenne prop jets. So what are you waiting for? Not a flight, I hope, because you'll never wait with Corporate Flight. Call Corporate Flight at 285-7373 24 hours a day.
Your Toyota dealer would like you to take this simple driver's test. If this sign has become all too familiar, it's time to look for this sign. Toyota Tercel is a great car for a low, low price. And you can always count on Toyota reliability. Motor Trend summed up Tercel's appeal best. Are you the type who measures a car's performance with a stopwatch or with a calendar? Stop by your Toyota dealer today. It's the right choice right now.
It wasn't your typical funeral, but he wasn't your typical man. Friends and family today remembered the life and good times of William Murray. Known as one of the most influential men in central Iowa, William Murray was buried today.
The 88-year-old spent the last few years fighting for the release of his son-in-law, Thomas Sutherland. And ironically, Sutherland, of course, was not able to be at today's memorial service. But as News Center 13's Mary Mills tells us, family and friends still felt his presence.
Family and friends of William Murray came to Collegiate Presbyterian Church to celebrate his life, to say goodbye to a loving husband, father, and friend.
Let us worship God. Let us worship God in thanksgiving for the life of William Gordon Murray.
Murray was remembered as a man devoted to helping others. In recent years, his son-in-law's plight became his own. He worked tirelessly to see Thomas Sutherland released.
Like in all things, though, Bill was always positive and confident that Tom would be freed someday. And it is terribly sad that Bill died 36 hours short of Tom's release.
While family members are obviously disappointed that Gene and Tom Sutherland can't be here in person, they say they know they're here in spirit. Murray was also known for his commitment to teaching and public service. He was a respected ISU professor and a two-time Republican candidate for governor. But by far his proudest achievement was the creation of Living History Farms. William Murray will be missed, but family and friends will no doubt take comfort in knowing that he left a legacy that will live on forever. In Ames, Mary Mills, News Center 13.
Murray was buried in the Iowa State Cemetery, an honor reserved for those of distinguished service.
Thomas Sutherland so wanted to be in Ames today to celebrate his father-in-law's life, but an ulcer is keeping him in Germany an extra week. I was in Wiesbaden for the former hostage's first days of freedom. Here's a look back. It was just before dawn in Germany when Thomas Sutherland arrived at the Wiesbaden hospital Tuesday morning. It was obvious his spirits were high and he was feeling well. Later that afternoon, the former hostage and his wife Jean appeared for the first time together on the balcony of the hospital. Two of their three daughters were at their side. The group wasn't prepared to answer questions from the media, but